Hi, creative friends. This is Soraya, and thank you so much for being here. So this is part 2 of me using these used tea bags in my cheap composition notebook. It's these bags over here. And I made a video a couple of videos ago where I showed you how I prepare these tea bags to use in my art. And now what I'm going to do is I am just going to build up my layers, and I'm going to see how I can use these tea bags to my advantage, and I'm going to experiment. And I am working in this book merely as a way of learning. So I'm not really trying to turn this into an art journal per se, and I can always use these pieces as collage to build up my layers in my art journals like I did. Let me see here. Like I did over here. These are pieces of my art, and I talked about this in another video as well. So this was a cheap lined composition notebook, and it's got some writing, it's got paints, it's got all sorts of things, and you can even actually see to the original cheap lined notebook over here. This is just the white paper, and I use all of this stuff as collage in my art. So I'm not really trying to create an art journal out of this book. It's, just a cheap lined composition notebook. And not that you cannot turn your composition notebook into an art journal. You can absolutely do that. But this here, this oh, I really love these colors actually, but I was probably experimenting with something here, and I just love it. And as you can see, I wrote a little, I think, grocery list over here, and I love all these little irregularities and just, all the stuff that can happen. So I just tear it up and use it as my collage. Anyways, getting back to this, I am going to get my viewfinder out, and I am just going to take a look and see, what do I like? What am I interested in? And there's actually a lot going on here that I'm really just digging. I just love it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some yellows, some pinks, and maybe more of this ultramarine blue. I'm really loving the addition of the teal here. And I'm just going to, maybe even like flip it around and just kind of go to town, experiment, see what happens. That's one of the great things about working merely to learn. You're not thinking about an image or, it has to, turn out a certain way. I'm just experimenting with all sorts of things, not just the tea bags. Maybe I'm experimenting with colors and line and textures, and I'm seeing, what things can do. And this is the tea bag over here, and I just love that texture. It is really beautiful. And it just delights me, which is a really good indication that, oh, that's one of my hairs there. It's just a really good indication that I'm on the right track. When something just feels good to me and I just absolutely love it, like it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. It's just about what makes you happy. What sparks curiosity in you. And I think that when we follow those little whispers and sparks of, they're little like fires, and we just get like enthralled with something. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody. Ooh, I love this yellow. This is actually one of my cheapy paints. It's Americana, and it's in a color called Marigold, and I actually really love it. And it's like under a couple of bucks, and you can buy it in in any big box store. I think it's in the craft section. So it is a really beautiful color. See, it's Americana. It's super, super cheap, but I just love this color. And it's called Marigold. So you can't say no to a color that's called Marigold. I mean, I mean, I can't. So let us see here. Ooh, I just really love this yellow. It is beautiful, luscious, rich, decadent. Ooh. And I'm gonna just bring some of the pinks in here. And I'm really loving how the paints go over the tea bags. And I'm gonna bring this up closer here. So this, I think I laid, I'm not sure if I laid 1 tea bag or 2 tea bags, but can you see all that luscious texture over there? It is just really beautiful. And I think I'm going to bring some of that in there. Now I'm going to put it over top of the tea bag here, and must use my fingers to kind of smush it in. I think the addition of the teal really gave this spread a lot of life. And now I am going to bring some of the blues in here. And you know, the great thing about this tea bag situation is that it is so thin, it's gossamer thin, that you can add so many layers, and it's really just going to blend in perfectly with the page or the substrate that you are going to add it onto. Like over here, when you see these lines, that's because it's the edge of the tea bag with the seam. But if you don't want to use that and you just want it to integrate like really into the page, you can just cut that seam out. But I actually love all those little irregularities, and I just think it adds so much beauty and interest to the page. And I think what I might do is I might even add like another layer of tea bags to the mix here. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the blue here with my finger. Just kind of and I'm wondering if I should add some gold. I think I will, but not right now. I want to just add some more tea bags. I am crazy in love, and I just want to see, like, I'm just experimenting. And because it is it's transparent, and so when I add it on top of here and then I let it dry, you can see everything that's beneath it, that's underneath. So I think I might like add it over here. And like I said, this is the great thing about when we are working simply to learn, whether it's like this or You know, when I integrate the images that are on the page, like with Connie Solera's Painting the Feminine art journal, whether we're working in this type of situation or you know, incorporating the images onto the page, when we're doing it just to learn, I just find for me it's so much more freeing, because it's almost like I'm a mad scientist and I'm just curious in beginner's mind. I'm simply doing things like, oh, let me just try this out, you know, let's see what happens. And there's no fear because there's really no failing. And I know that's true in art in general, but when it comes to, like, I'm just doing this to learn, it's just even more of a sense of freedom. And so I love working like this. And it's kind of a way that I can feed my creativity, my creative self, my wild woman archetype, as Dr. Estes would say. It's like food for the soul. And it, you know, all I have to do is find something that just completely delights me. And I don't think about, oh, I'm wasting time and I'm wasting paint and I'm wasting resources. It's none of that. It's just like, wow, you know, this delights me. So I'm just going to follow the whispers. I'm just going to see what happens. And let's just kind of give space and time for that, and energy, and to value it, you know, because we're living in societies that only value like doing for production's sake. Like if you don't make any money out of it, or if you don't make a product out of it, it's not valued. And that is so not true. And it's not how Wild Women thrives. Again, using the language of Dr. Estes, I'm really immersing myself in all of her works because I'm doing this series, and while I paint, I listen to her audiobooks. So I'm just really deeply immersed in her wisdom and knowledge, and it's really showing up in my art in so many beautiful ways. And I think I am going to let this completely dry here. And I just love these seams and edges here and the texture that it brings to the page. So now what I'm going to do is just let it completely dry, and then I will come back to it and, you know, and work on it some more. So if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.